Every single day is shaped in its earliest moments, long before you speak to anyone, long before you respond to a message, long before you step into responsibility. Something is already forming inside of you. The atmosphere you create at the beginning of your day becomes the environment you live in for the rest of that day. That is why how you start matters more than most people realize. Many people wake up and immediately allow pressure to take the lead. They reach for their phones, absorb the worries of the world, scroll through bad news, and step into comparison, fear, and distraction before their feet ever touch the floor. Without realizing it, they hand control of their mindset to whatever voice is loudest. And when the wrong voice shapes your morning, it quietly shapes your attitude, your reactions, and your decisions all day long. But when you start your day by turning your heart toward God, something powerful happens. You are making a statement without speaking a word. You are declaring that your life is not controlled by some circumstances. You are announcing that your peace does not depend on what happens around you. You are choosing alignment over anxiety, trust over tension, and faith over fear. The beginning of your day sets the tone for your thinking. If your morning begins with worry, your mind stays in survival mode. If your morning begins with frustration, your spirit becomes heavy. But when your morning begins with prayer, your soul settles. Prayer does not remove every challenge, but it changes how you walk into those challenges. You no longer walk in blind. You no longer walk in panic. You walk with awareness that God is already ahead of you. Starting with God also trains your heart to listen before it reacts. Instead of letting emotions run your schedule, you invite divine wisdom to shape your responses. That means when conflict arises, you respond with patience instead of anger. When delays happen, you remain steady instead of shaken. When unexpected problems show up, you lean into trust instead of fear. All of this is influenced by how you started. Your morning posture becomes your daily posture. If you begin bowed in prayer, your heart stays humble. If you begin with surrender, your spirit stays flexible. If you begin with gratitude, your outlook stays hopeful. These inner positions quietly influence every conversation, every choice, and every action. Many people underestimate small spiritual habits because they are simple. But simplicity does not mean weakness. A few minutes with God in the morning carries more power than hours of stress-driven effort. Those moments of connection become spiritual armor. They become a shield around your thoughts. They become an anchor when life tries to pull you off course. When you consistently start your day with God, you build spiritual momentum. You train your soul to expect His presence. You condition your mind to look for His guidance. Over time, you begin to notice changes. You become calmer under pressure. You become clearer in decision making. You become stronger in faith, not because life became easier, but because your foundation became firmer. The strength of your day is not determined by your schedule. It is determined by your source. When your source is God, your day draws from an endless supply of peace, wisdom, and strength. That is why the way you start your day is not a small detail. It is a defining decision that shapes everything that follows. Calling upon God before anything else is more than a routine. It is a declaration of dependence. It is the quiet but powerful acknowledgement that you cannot handle life by your own strength alone. In a world that constantly pushes self-reliance, choosing to begin your day by calling on God is an act of humility and faith. It says, I recognize my limits, but I trust in your unlimited power. When you call upon God, you shift authority. You are no longer allowing circumstances, people, or emotions to dictate the direction of your day. You are inviting heaven to take the lead. You are placing your life under divine governance. That simple act of calling out to God aligns your spirit with His will and opens your heart to receive what you could never generate on your own. Calling on God first also establishes priority. It tells your soul who comes before deadlines, before demands, before distractions. It puts God in His rightful place at the center of your life. When God is first, everything else begins to find its proper order. Confusion starts to lose its grip. Chaos begins to settle. Decisions become clearer, not because you suddenly know everything, but because you are connected to the one who does. There is power released when you speak God's name with expectation. You are not whispering into emptiness. You are speaking to a living God who hears, who responds, and who moves. Your words become spiritual signals. They invite divine activity into ordinary moments. What looks like a simple prayer becomes a doorway for supernatural intervention. Calling upon God before anything else also strengthens your inner foundation. Life will apply pressure. That pressure is unavoidable, but pressure only exposes what a structure is built upon. When your foundation is prayer, you do not collapse under weight. You may bend, but you do not break. You may feel the strain, but you remain standing. This practice teaches your heart where to run first. Instead of running to panic, you run to prayer. Instead of running to complaints, you run to communion. Instead of running to people for validation, you run to God for direction. Over time, this reshapes your spiritual instincts. Your reflex becomes faith. Calling on God first does not mean you will never face trouble. It means trouble will never face you alone. It means you enter every situation with divine backup. You walk into meetings with God's wisdom. You walk into challenges with God's strength. You walk into uncertainty with God's peace. Another powerful effect of calling on God first is that it sharpens your spiritual sensitivity. You begin to notice gentle nudges, quiet warnings, and subtle guidance. You start recognizing when something is not right. You sense when a door is opening or when a path is dangerous. This awareness is not coincidence. It is the result of consistent connection. When you call upon God before anything else, you are not escaping responsibility. You are equipping yourself to handle responsibility well. You are not avoiding effort. You are empowering your effort. You are not shrinking from reality. You are inviting God into reality. This daily choice slowly transforms your perspective. You stop seeing life as a series of random events. You begin to see purpose. You stop seeing yourself as alone. You begin to see yourself as supported. You stop seeing obstacles as dead ends. You begin to see them as opportunities for God to reveal His power. Calling upon God first is a simple act with massive impact. It places your day in God's hands before it ever enters yours. One of the greatest deceptions people struggle with is the feeling that they are alone in what they face. You can be surrounded by people and still feel isolated. You can be busy all day and still feel unsupported. The weight of responsibility, expectations, and silent battles can make life feel overwhelming. But the truth is, you were never designed to carry life by yourself. From the very beginning, God intended to walk with you, guide you, and stand beside you in every season. When you begin to understand that God goes before you, your entire outlook changes. You are not stepping into unknown territory by yourself. You are walking into spaces that God has already entered. He has already seen what you will face. He already knows the conversations you will have. He already understands the challenges that are waiting. And because he goes before you, nothing catches him by surprise. This realization removes a heavy burden from your heart. You no longer feel responsible for controlling everything. You no longer feel pressured to have all the answers. You no longer feel trapped by the fear of making the wrong move. Instead, you begin to trust that God is actively working ahead of you, arranging details, opening paths, and closing dangerous doors. Knowing you are not alone also changes how you face opposition. When problems arise, you do not immediately panic. When delays happen, you do not automatically assume failure. When obstacles appear, you do not see them as proof that you are abandoned. You begin to see them as moments where God's presence is about to become visible. God going before you means he prepares the ground before you step onto it. He softens hearts you will speak to. He shifts circumstances you cannot control. He places favor where you did not earn it. He creates opportunities you could never manufacture. Even when you do not recognize it in the moment, divine preparation is happening behind the scenes. This truth also brings comfort in moments of weakness. There will be days when your energy is low. There will be days when your faith feels small. There will be days when your confidence is shaken. But God's presence does not depend on your emotional state. He does not leave because you feel tired. He does not step back because you feel unsure. He remains constant even when you feel inconsistent. Understanding that God goes before you builds quiet courage, not loud, boastful confidence, but steady inner strength. It is the kind of strength that allows you to keep moving even when you feel afraid. It is the kind of courage that whispers, I don't know how this will work out, but I trust God anyway. You may not see God physically walking in front of you, but his fingerprints are all over your path. Every time you avoided a situation that could have harmed you, every time help arrived unexpectedly, every time something fell apart but later made sense, these are signs of a God who was already ahead of you. You are not facing your day alone. You are not carrying your burdens alone. You are not fighting your battles alone. The same God who woke you up is the same God who is walking into every moment of your day before you arrive. Peace, clarity, and renewed strength are not accidental experiences. They are spiritual outcomes that flow from consistent connection with God, and one of the most powerful ways to access them is through morning prayer. When you begin your day in prayer, You are not just speaking words, you are creating space for God to work within you. You are allowing heaven to shape your inner world before the outer world starts making its demands. Morning prayer quiets the noise inside your mind. Many people wake up already thinking about responsibilities, worries, and unfinished tasks. Thoughts begin racing before the day even starts. Prayer interrupts that mental chaos. It slows your thinking. It centers your focus. It gently pulls your attention away from panic and places it on trust. Instead of starting the day scattered, you start anchored. Peace does not mean the absence of problems. It means the presence of stability. When you pray in the morning, you receive a peace that stands guard over your emotions. Situations may still be difficult, but they no longer control your inner state. You may still feel pressure, but you are not crushed by it. You may still face uncertainty, but you are not consumed by fear. Morning prayer also brings clarity. Clarity is the ability to see things from the right perspective. Without prayer, it is easy to misinterpret situations. A delay feels like rejection. A closed door feels like punishment. A challenge feels like failure. But prayer lifts your vision. It helps you see beyond surface level circumstances. You begin to recognize that not everything that feels bad is bad, and not everything that looks good is good. When you pray, you invite God's wisdom into your thinking. That wisdom influences your decisions in subtle but powerful ways. You become less impulsive. You become more thoughtful. You pause before reacting. You sense when something is off. You feel a gentle pull toward what is right. This clarity does not come from intelligence alone. It comes from spiritual alignment. Morning prayer also renews your strength. Life has a way of draining people slowly. Stress, disappointment, and constant responsibility can leave you feeling empty. You may wake up physically rested but emotionally exhausted. Prayer refills what life drains. It restores hope. It refreshes courage. It breathes life back into tired places of your soul. Renewed strength does not always feel like sudden energy. Sometimes it feels like quiet endurance. It feels like the ability to keep going even when you want to stop. It feels like stability in the middle of pressure. It feels like determination when motivation is low. This strength is not self-generated. It is God-supplied. Morning prayer also reminds you of who you are and whose you are. It reconnects you to your identity. You are not defined by your mistakes. You are not defined by your past. You are not defined by your struggles. You are a child of God, loved, seen, and valued. That reminder alone can lift heavy emotional weight. When peace settles your heart, clarity guides your mind, and strength fills your spirit, you walk into the day differently. You stand differently. You speak differently. You respond differently. All because you took time to pray. Morning prayer is not about perfection. It is about presence. It is about showing up honestly before God. And when you do, He meets you with exactly what you need for that day. When you invite God into your day, you are not simply asking for comfort. You are stepping under divine covering. There is a spiritual reality that exists beyond what human eyes can see. And in that unseen realm, protection, direction, and intervention are constantly at work. God is not passive about your life. He is actively involved, carefully watching, guiding, and guarding every step you take. God's protection is not always loud or dramatic. Often it shows up quietly. It appears as a delayed plan that saves you from danger. It shows up as a missed opportunity that would have caused harm. It reveals itself as an uncomfortable feeling that warns you to stay away from a certain path. Many times, you will never know what you were spared from, but the fact that you are still standing is evidence that God has been shielding you. When you pray in the morning, you are placing your day into God's hands. You are asking Him to stand watch over your movements, your conversations, and your decisions. You are acknowledging that you cannot foresee everything, but He can. That simple act of surrender activates divine oversight. God also orders your steps. That means He directs your path with intention. Your life is not a random sequence of events. Even when things seem unplanned, God is weaving purpose into your journey. He guides you toward people who will help you grow. He guides you away from situations that would destroy your peace. He leads you into experiences that shape your character and prepare you for what is ahead. Ordered steps do not mean an easy path. Sometimes God leads you through challenging terrain because growth happens in pressure. But even in difficult seasons, He never abandons you. Every step has meaning. Every season has a lesson. Every delay has a reason. One of the most powerful aspects of inviting God into your day is trusting Him to deal with what you cannot see. The enemy does not always attack openly. Many attacks are subtle. They come as discouraging thoughts, sudden temptations, unexpected conflicts, or heavy emotional waves. But God's power is greater than any scheme designed against you. When you pray, you are not begging a distant God to notice you. You are partnering with a present God who is already fighting for you. Prayer aligns you with His authority. It allows God to intervene, block, redirect, and dismantle plans that were meant to harm you. There are battles you will never have to fight because God steps in first. There are traps you will never fall into because God removes them before you arrive. There are doors that will never open because God knows what waits on the other side. This is not coincidence. This is divine protection. God's covering does not mean you will never face opposition. It means opposition will not have the final word. It means attacks will not succeed. It means what was meant to destroy you will be turned into something that strengthens you. Trusting God to protect you and order your steps brings deep peace. You stop living in constant fear of what if. You stop trying to control everything. You learn to rest in the knowledge that God is actively involved in your life. When God leads, guards, and fights for you, you are not walking alone. You are walking under divine authority, divine guidance, and divine protection. When you choose to start your day with God, you are doing far more than following a spiritual habit. You are positioning yourself in an atmosphere where favor and breakthroughs are more likely to manifest. Positioning matters. Just as a plant must be placed in good soil to grow, your soul must be placed in God's presence to flourish. Morning prayer places you exactly where growth begins. Favor is not something you can force. It cannot be demanded or manufactured. Favor is the result of alignment. When your heart is aligned with God, He opens doors that human effort cannot open. He causes people to notice you for the right reasons. He brings opportunities to your doorstep that you did not chase. Favor is God placing his hand on your life in a way that shifts outcomes. Starting your day with God also positions you for victory. Victory does not always mean immediate success. Sometimes victory looks like resilience. It looks like standing when you thought you would collapse. It looks like staying faithful when quitting seemed easier. It looks like choosing righteousness when compromise was available. These quiet victories shape your future more than loud celebrations ever could. When you pray in the morning, you are declaring that your battles will not be fought in your own strength. You are surrendering the fight to God. That surrender changes everything. You stop striving for control and start trusting for results. You stop exhausting yourself trying to manage outcomes and begin resting in God's ability to handle what you cannot. Breakthroughs often happen after long periods of unseen preparation. People see the moment of change, but they do not see the countless prayers that came before it. They do not see the private tears, the silent endurance, and the steady faith. Morning prayer is part of that preparation. It is planting seeds in spiritual soil that will eventually produce visible fruit. Positioning yourself before God every morning also sharpens your spiritual awareness. You begin to recognize divine opportunities when they appear. You become sensitive to moments that require boldness. You sense when God is nudging you to move, speak, or wait. This sensitivity helps you step into breakthroughs instead of walking past them. Starting your day with God builds expectation. You begin to believe that something good can happen. You stop waking up with dread and start waking up with hope. Expectation is powerful because it shapes behavior. When you expect God to move, you pay attention. You look for signs of his hand. You stay open to change. Victory also involves mindset. A defeated mind cannot sustain a victorious life. Morning prayer renews your thinking. It reminds you that you are not cursed, forgotten, or abandoned. It reminds you that God is working even when you cannot see evidence. This renewed mindset becomes a foundation for consistent forward movement. Breakthroughs do not always arrive as sudden miracles. Sometimes they arrive as gradual shifts. A little more peace than yesterday, a little more clarity than last week, a little more courage than before. These small shifts accumulate into major transformation. When you consistently start your day with God, you place yourself in the flow of his purpose. You align with his timing. You submit to his process. And in that alignment, favor increases, victory becomes possible, and breakthroughs become inevitable. Positioning yourself with God at the start of your day is one of the most powerful choices